barefoot down on the pedal. Not only was I unable to stop the elliptical, but it was going so fast that it flew right into the rotating wheel at the front.
What's up, Raw Clan? It's Rigoletto, and I'm back on the scene with another YouTube video. Today we got Young Don the Sauce God losing my toe. I hope that's not true. But before we go ahead and get in the video, leave but a like, comment, and subscribe. Especially get on in them comments, let your boy know what's up so I can make my channel a better experience for y'all, the Royal Clan. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive on in.
Sister kneels down and is like, let me see. I take my hand off my toes so she could see, but I didn't look. But between the look my sister
You can
had
always
on her
tell by the
face
look.
and how bad my toes were hurting, I was expecting her to say, yo, your toes, they're gone.
Oh, she just looks up all casually, yo, your toes, they're gone.
So I recently told you the story of my dad giving me a spanking for not doing what I was supposed to do in school during the 2nd grade. And that was definitely the most memorable spanking I
all
had.
been
I think
there.
the only time he ever spanked me on my butt too. He was more of a hold out your hand kind of
And it was
discipline.
just
And
so
after
much
that
trauma
happened
that
in the
came
2nd
with
grade,
whoopings.
I think my dad disciplined me physically only once more. And that must have been either in the 3rd or 4th grade. So here's what happened. One day after school, my sister and I were hanging out in my mom's room. And I don't know how it was for you, but growing up, mom's room was the best room. Her pillows were softer, the bed was bigger, and there was a TV with all the channels in there.
Facts.
And back then, that was the only bedroom with air conditioning. So her room was like the oasis in the house, always clean, always comfortable. So after school, that was the chill spot for me and my sister. Well, around this time, my mother had recently purchased an elliptical, which was a very strange machine to me at the time. I don't think I ever saw one before she bought it. Now, she made it very clear that this wasn't a toy, right? It wasn't a plaything. It was supposed to be for exercise. So of course, whenever she wasn't around, I'd get on it and go for a
That
ride.
made them
To
even
me,
more
it
curious
wasn't
to get on
exercise.
it.
I was
Like,
playing, okay? I got Cartoon Network on the TV. I got some Kool-Aid and potato chips chilling on the night table beside
that was the
bed.
vibe. That was the
Nigga,
vibe back
I think I
then.
would have had more fun at Disneyland, bro. So one faithful afternoon, my sister and I are laying in my
Ooh,
mom's
not
bed watching
Samurai
cartoons
Jack.
when I decided to get up on the elliptical. So I'm riding it, and then I'm like, hey, you trying to turn up though? She's like, sure. So I give her a turn on the elliptical. And I've always been super competitive, right? Anytime my sister and I were playing anything,
Please don't
I'd
do
find a way to
nothing
turn it
stupid.
into a competition. So I say to her, okay, let's see who can make it go
What you
faster.
got you though? Which is still
Of
as you
course,
always
being
try to turn
older,
something
the
into a
boy,
competition.
I won. Then I was like, okay,
He
how
was
about
gone.
this? Let's see who can make it go backwards the fastest. Surprise, surprise, I'm that guy. Now, my sister wasn't a sore loser, but there's only so much loss any person can take before they don't want to play anymore. Realizing that, I tried to come up with something based on the elliptical that she could maybe win, right? So here's what I came up with. The challenge was, my sister was to get on the elliptical and start pedaling at full speed, as hard as she could. I was then gonna attempt to bring it to a stop by putting my foot on the foot pedal thing and apply force in the opposite direction. Basically,
Why would you do
I was
that
thinking,
barefoot?
I'm so much stronger than my little sister that even as she's pedaling the elliptical at full speed, I'll be able to stop it. Well, turns out that's not how physics work. And unfortunately, you don't learn the formula for momentum until after the 3rd grade. So I didn't realize that once she got the elliptical going, I was gonna be pushing against not just her strength, but as well as all the force that she would have generated from turning the elliptical as fast as she could. So there she is, pedaling at full speed. I'm standing beside her with what I am sure was a very smug look on my face. As
And does his
I was sure this
animation
could
look?
only
I like
end
the way
one
his
way.
animation look now.
She gives me the signal to say, all right, take a shot. I pick up my foot, time her rotations, and then I slam my bare foot down on the pedal. Not only was I unable to stop the elliptical, but it was going so fast that it flew right into the rotating wheel at the front of the elliptical. I remember, this was in like 2003, 2004 when it lived.
That's my greatest fear, bro. That is my greatest fear.
Needless to say,
my fingers and my toes, they, you know, cause them the most sensitive little things and they so precious to you. So,
my toesies. My sister hops off and is of course very worried. I'm holding my foot and blood is starting to drip from my hands, so I know it's bad, but I'm scared to look. My sister kneels down and is like, let me see. I take my hand off my toes so she could see, but I didn't look. But between the look my sister had on her face and how
just
bad
thinking
my
about it
toes
make
were
me
hurting, I was
cringe.
expecting her to say, yo, your toes.
Just so nonchalant.
How bad is it? She's like, pretty bad. So I muster up the courage and I take a look. I ain't know it was possible for that much blood to come from such a small part of your body. But my toe was leaking, bro. Luckily, it was still attached. But there was a nasty gash on the toe beside my big toe, and all the other toes are fucked. But the one beside the big toe, that one looked like there was in trouble. So I call out for my auntie who took care of us while my mom was at work. She comes in the room and is like, what did you do? She sees the blood, she sees the guilt on our faces, and she knew right away that we did some dumb shit with the elliptical. She gets some hydrogen peroxide, some bandages, cleans up the wound, bandages it up, and calls for a taxi to take us to the doctor. So I get to the doctor, they look at my toe, and they tell me I came very close to cutting it off. But thank Jesus, it was still pretty much intact, and I just had a really bad flesh wound. I wasn't gonna be able to wear shoes for a couple of weeks, but at least I wasn't gonna lose my toe. And my mom was mad, but she was more relieved that I didn't cut off my toe. Anyway, a few days pass, and I've started to put the incident behind me when my dad stops by the house to visit me and see how I was doing. It was like a Saturday morning, and I'm happy to see him, as I'm always happy to see my dad. He sees me, cracks a few jokes about my toes, and gives me a big old hug. So he hugs me, and then he looks at me, and is like, well, you know what I gotta do now, right? I'm like,
what do you have to do?
What do you mean, what do you gotta do? What do you gotta do, Dad? He's like, what do you think? Get the belt. You know he wasn't supposed to be playing on that goddamn elliptical. I'm like, are you serious? Was almost losing my toe not enough
trauma
for you?
and
Must you
excruciating
beat me as well?
pain
Like, son,
from the
it's about
elliptical is enough punishment.
Oh, which reminds me, don't forget to bring your sister. She's getting some of this too. I'm like, damn. This nigga ain't
her
got no
seeing
heart. So
what
I get
can
my
happen
sister, I get the belt.
is enough.
This time I didn't fight it. No tears, no hesitation. I took them shits like a man.
Rest in
She
peace.
said, come through, it's a go. I hit her back like I know. I got her touching her toes. Baby, throw that shit my way. I know what you wanna say. When you tell me it's mine tonight.
Let me stop before I get a copyright strike. On some Berlizzi shit. Okay. But that be some fire ass music he be having at the end though. I had to listen. But yeah, like what the decapitation of any sort of, oh my god, just makes me cringe so bad. Like, oh, cause our limbs and all, it's just so precious, bro. Like, oh, whoo. I can't even imagine what else I can, because I've had some fucked up shit happen to me growing up too. Especially like having a chunk of wood this long stuck in the bottom of my foot, and my grandma just pulling that mug out with some wire pliers. I ain't feel it, but shit, it hurt while it was in there. And another thing, all the whoopings, it gotta stop. That is traumatic. It's traumatic. It has to stop. That's gonna wrap it up for this video. But before I go ahead and delete, boy, that like, comment, and subscribe. Especially getting them comments. Do not be afraid to tell me what's on your mind, so I can make my channel a better experience for y'all, my viewers, the Royal Clan. Oh yeah, remember, you're beautiful, talented, and keep doing what you're always born to do, no matter what anybody says. They're just mad they're not doing what they want to do.